Hi, my name is Addie Knight, and this is my friend Elise, who's going to be playing my patient. Hi, Eileen. My name is Addie Knight. Your doctor referred you to me in order to talk about your diet history.
Hi, Addie. It's nice to meet you. Yes, the doctor told me that you would be arriving soon. What does a registered dietitian have to do with this wound on my foot? By the way, it was very painful when they did the debridement. I'm glad that it's over.
I'm sorry to hear that, Eileen. It sounds like that was very painful for you. To address your question, let us first talk about your lab values. You were admitted to the hospital with a blood sugar of 325 milligrams per deciliter and an A1C of 8.5%. What do you know about these values?
I know all about elevated blood sugar levels. In fact, I live with and take care of my sister who has type 2 diabetes. In my time with her, I learned that a good blood sugar level is somewhere between 70 to 120 milligrams
Per deciliter.
Per deciliter. So for mine to be 325 milligrams per deciliter, it must not be good at all. A1C has something to do with blood sugar too, but I'm not really sure.
You sound very knowledgeable on what it means to have an elevated blood sugar level. Your A1C is an average of your blood sugar levels over a 3-month period. A normal A1C level is usually somewhere between 4.5% and 6%, and your score of 8% is indicative of having high, consistent blood sugars. Luckily, I see from your chart that your blood sugar reduced to 121 milligrams per deciliter, and it appears that your doctor put you on sliding scale insulin. Are you familiar with how this works?
Yes, I am. My sister has been on insulin for many years. I am familiar with this. I just don't know why I have to be on insulin at all. I eat well and I don't consume too much sugar.
That's great that you're cautious of your diet. There are other factors that can play into your acquiring of type 2 diabetes. For example, genetics and excess weight. What do you know about risks associated with being overweight?
Well, I know that I am overweight, and that's what my doctor told me. He also said that could contribute to my hypertension and diabetes.
Your doctor is correct. And knowing that, how interested are you in losing weight?
I would say that I'm pretty interested.
That's great to hear. Would you mind me sharing some additional information with you?
Sure, go ahead.
From your anthropometric data, I gather that you are considered class 1 obese with a BMI of 30.7 and a weight of 155. For someone your height, to achieve a healthy BMI would require losing about 30 pounds. Obesity is also a risk factor in the acquiring of type 2 diabetes. Additionally, your other lab values and history of hypertension are also risk factors associated with being overweight and could have contributed to your development of type 2 diabetes.
Yes, I have had hypertension for a while now. The medicine helps though. What are the lab values that you mentioned could have contributed to me getting the sugar like my sister?
I'm sorry that you had to deal with hypertension. That must be difficult for you. I'm glad that the medicine has provided some relief. To answer your question, the lab values that I mentioned are high cholesterol, low HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol, high LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol, and high triglycerides. It is your lab values and your anthropometric data that led to your nutrition diagnosis of obese class 1 related to excessive fat intake as evidenced by diet history, BMI, and lab values. Do you have any questions about that?
Wow, that is a lot. What does all of that stuff about cholesterol mean?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Your body makes cholesterol, but it is also acquired from the food that you eat. Too much cholesterol can increase your risk of developing heart disease. Additionally, high LDL cholesterol, the one that has the connotation of being bad, can increase your risk of heart disease as well. HDL cholesterol is a sort of combative cholesterol that has the ability to lower your risk of heart disease. You can increase your HDL cholesterol with a healthy diet and reduce your total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol by lowering the fat in your diet. What further questions do you have about your altered lab values?
Well, none anymore. Now that I know what all those numbers mean on my chart. The doctor gave me this new medicine I'm on, Lipitor. I guess this Lipitor is supposed to help lower my total cholesterol and LDL. I guess what I really want to know is what foods I should be eating to reduce my total cholesterol and to decrease my blood sugar. I really don't like the idea of sticking myself with needles. I thought I was eating healthy already, but can you just tell me what to eat?
How about we go through your typical diet together? Would you mind walking me through what you ate yesterday so that I can get an idea of your typical intake?
Sure, that seems easy enough. For breakfast, I had 2 pieces of bacon, or sausage, a scrambled egg and bacon grease, coffee black, and a half a cup of orange juice. For lunch, I had a sandwich that was made with white bread, bologna, and American cheese. Jeez. I also have tea usually, but unsweetened. For dinner, I ate turnip greens that were seasoned with fatback, about a cup of those. Then I had 2 small new potatoes, cornbread with butter, and beans with ham. For dessert, I had 2 small vanilla wafers.
Thank you for sharing that with me. In analyzing your typical diet, I gathered that you're eating about 65% of your calories from fat, where you should be eating around 30% of your calories from fat.
But for diabetes, I really just have to worry about carbohydrates, right?
That is a good observation. You do want to be cautious of your carbohydrates, but you should also be cautious of other macronutrients like fat and protein. Your protein intake is within normal limits for a general healthy diet. But while you're healing from your wound, I would like to increase your protein levels to hasten the process. Your carbohydrate intake is within range, which is very commendable.
Thank you. I knew I should be aware of my carbohydrate intake, which is why I started to not think about fat and protein. Why do these other foods matter so much anyways? Also, what were you saying about healing my wound faster? I want to do that. This is killing me.
That is a great question. Currently, you have around 750 calories in your diet coming from fats. The excess fat that you're consuming can lead to high cholesterol, high LDL cholesterol, and low HDL cholesterol. Additionally, consuming excess fats can promote weight gain, and excess weight is a risk factor for hypertension and diabetes, among other health-related issues. To answer the question about your wound, by increasing protein, you are increasing the healing process, according to data from the Wound Healing Society and the National Pressure Ulcer Advisory Panel. Increasing your protein intake can promote the skin to heal over your wound more rapidly. Once your wound heals, we can reduce your protein needs.
I am eating that much fat? I had no idea. No wonder the doctor just put me on Lipitor, another medicine I have to keep up with taking. I already have a hard time remembering to take my Capitan for hypertension, and now they want to have me on insulin too. I will never be able to keep up with all these things. On top of that, my vision is going bad. I have tingling in my toes and feet, and I have frequent bladder infections.
I'm sorry to hear that, Eileen. That must be very difficult for you. What I'm hearing from you is that the symptoms you're experiencing are impacting your quality of life. The symptoms that you have described to me are symptoms that are associated with diabetes. You have voiced that you do not want to take insulin, but if we can get your weight and blood sugar under control by use of a healthful diet and insulin, you can alleviate your symptoms. On a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being completely disinterested and 10 being very interested, how would you rate your interest in losing weight?
I never thought I needed to lose weight, but if you're saying that I can maybe get off some of this medicine and reduce some of these symptoms, it might be worth it. If that is true, my confidence is about a 9.
A confidence level of a 9 is an excellent score. What could bring you up to a 10?
I guess my fear is that it won't work and that I will slip back into my old eating habits, and that is why I'm reluctant to say 10. Is there some sort of trial period we can try?
How about we meet back in 2 weeks and go over your lab values, assess your wound and your other symptoms, and see if the changes were significant enough to make you decide to continue on the diet. Does that sound like a good plan to you?
That does sound like an okay plan. So to change my diet, what do I need to do? You said to reduce my fat and increase my protein?
That is correct. I noticed that when you were cooking, you use a lot of lard. What alternatives can you use instead of lard when you're cooking?
Well, I have seen Pam advertised on TV. They say it's low calorie and I think low fat too. What do you think about cooking with Pam instead of lard?
That is an excellent solution and a good way to reduce calories from fat. If we go back and look at your diet from yesterday that you shared with me, what foods would you cook with Pam instead of lard?
I could use Pam to cook my eggs and bacon at breakfast. I could use it also in the pan to cook my turnip greens.
Those are both excellent ideas. Are you committing to reduce your use of lard and replace that with Pam?
Yes. I think that is a very feasible way to reduce my fat intake.
You're right, I think it is. I see that you enjoy bacon and bologna. Those foods have fairly high fat content. Can you think of any other meat that is higher in protein and lower in fat that you'd be interested in replacing these with?
I cannot give up my bacon, if that's what you're asking. I eat bologna because it's cheap and I cannot afford to eat those fancy meals at the deli.
I understand the price is a factor when choosing your foods. Have you ever tried Canadian bacon? It has a quarter of the fat as bologna and at an affordable price. Is this something you would be interested in trying?
I have had it, but only for breakfast. I never thought of having it on a sandwich. I think I can manage having that instead of bologna.
That's great to hear. I'm glad that you enjoyed the taste and are interested in replacing it with your bologna. Now that you've established some goals to reduce your fat intake, how about we look at a few ways we can increase your protein intake?
Yeah, you said that increasing my protein could help this wound heal. I am all ears.
That is great. Thank you for your expressed interest. I would like to increase your protein to around 72 to 86 grams per day. That is around 10 protein choices. I know that sounds like a lot. Right now you're eating around half of that, so you would need to double your intake.
That seems like so much eating and so expensive. I don't know how I'll be able to afford it. Are there any other options besides eating protein all day?
There are some other options actually, like a protein shake. There are some affordable shakes out there that are high in protein that don't make you feel you're eating all day long. Is a protein shake something that interests you?
Now that I can do. That sounds a little more in my budget and will require a lot less meal prep.
You're right about that. To recap on our goals so far, you've established the goal of cooking with Pam instead of lard, replacing the bologna on your sandwiches with Canadian bacon, and to increase your protein through use of modified beverage. Additionally, I would like to provide you with a vitamin C and zinc supplement to promote your wound healing. Do all of these goals still sound feasible to you?
Yes, I can do that. I'm going to go grocery shopping as soon as I leave here.
I can tell that you're excited about getting started. Using the same scales as before, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can maintain these goals?
I think I'm a 9 again. I feel pretty good about it.
A 9 is a great confidence score. What could make you achieve a score of a 10?
My major concern is the financial factor associated with the diet change.
That is an understandable concern. It is true that it does often cost more to eat healthfully. How about when we meet back in 2 weeks, we can discuss how or if making these few changes to your diet impacted your finances.
That sounds like a good idea. 2 weeks should be enough time to see if it has cut into my funds.
Excellent. I see from your chart that there is no reported physical activity.
Oh yeah, I got tired of feeling all the bubbles, so I didn't write it down. But I do like to walk.
Walking is a great way to become physically active. For how long and how often in a week do you walk?
Probably about 4 days in a week for 30 minutes. I heard it was a good way for my hypertension.
That is excellent. You're right. Walking is a great treatment for your hypertension. It can also help you manage your diabetes and your weight. Do you think that you'll be able to continue walking 4 days per week during the next 2 weeks before we reconvene?
Oh yes, definitely. I may even walk an extra day since you said it would be good for my diabetes too.
So you're committing to walking at least 4 days per week over the next 2 weeks?
Absolutely.
It is great to see you express so much interest in managing your diabetes. We already discussed meeting again in 2 weeks. During the 2 weeks between your next meeting, I would like it if you kept a food journal of everything you eat. In having your food journal, we will be able to address what things worked and didn't work, and overall evaluate your food intake. Does keeping a food journal sound like a good idea to you?
Yeah, I can do that. I usually get up early and have a cup of coffee alone. Maybe I can work on my journal during that period of quiet time.
That'd be a great time to complete your journal. Additionally, at our next appointment, I will monitor your lab values that you will have taken at your doctor's appointment next week. I will also evaluate your BMI and weight using standard anthropometric techniques. At your next appointment, we will address the symptoms you have recently complained of and see if the new diet recommendations have helped alleviate you from some of these symptoms. Does that sound okay to you?
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to feeling okay again.
I am looking forward to that too, for you. Before you leave, I would like to provide you with some reading materials before you go. This is the American Diabetes Association Food Exchange List. When you come back in 2 weeks, we can discuss what you have gleaned from the food exchange list, and I will answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions about what we have gone over today before we conclude?
Not that I can think of. I am so excited to get started.
That is great to hear. I look forward to seeing what progress you have made in 2 weeks. See you then. Thank you.
Oh my god, did it not save?
Oh no, it did.